Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call. Well, for starters, the gift net is suggesting we pull back a little bit. Remember, we're kicking start a new month as well as a new series. The month of August wasn't great, but we're hoping for better prospects in this month. To discuss a lot of stocks that we just told you about, we have market expert Hemang Jani, who joins us on the show. Hi, Hemang. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, I wanted to ask you about the big deal that could be announced, the one between Cipla and possibly Torrent. Your view on the stock from here on? I mean, Cipla has seen a big run already. It's flirting with a 52-week high. How do you approach the stock from here?
Good morning, Nigel. Thanks for having me. I think there has been a buzz, that Cipla promoters are looking to exit, and some companies were there to kind of, show interest. So in terms of business synergies, there are a lot of, positives that one can really look at, given the, let's say, portfolio of Torrent Pharma versus Cipla, and the kind of business that they have in the US markets, compared to a Torrent, it would be about 4 to 5x. Also, the kind of presence they have in certain markets like, South Africa and the WHO related product portfolio that Cipla has would make a lot of sense. So I think from a business synergy perspective, both domestic and global markets, there is a lot of synergy. But I think given the market cap and the valuation that Cipla commands, it remains to be seen as to how a Torrent or any other company will be able to fund that. Because in case of Torrent, they already are sitting on a debt of almost 5,000 crore, and Cipla is 1.3x the size of Torrent. So those are the points where we will have to have some clarity. But purely from a valuation perspective and business synergy perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. The other stocks I wanted to ask you about, Hemang, was what's happening with the entire banking space, right? Because in the month of August, you had a lot of banking stocks, whether it's SBI, of course, Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank, that saw big underperformance. SBI is down about 10% in the last 1 month. Would you buy any of these names, or are you a bit cautious here?
There has been a bit of an underperformance when it comes to banking the last whole month, and more so last, let's say, few days also. Bank Nifty versus Nifty, there is clearly, underperformance which is there. Now, the point is that in terms of quarterly numbers, maybe except for SBI and a couple of banks, by and large, the numbers were good. I think what people are grappling with is the kind of over ownership which is there across PSU and private banks. And maybe if you see some, increase in the interest rates or the compression which was there in NIMs, that could be a bit of a worry. But I don't think there is a case for a significant correction in the banking names. And I think, Sonia, when you look at the banking and NBFC, the NBFC space is actually buzzing, be it the smaller ones like Manappuram, where we saw blocks. Indiabulls Housing is showing a lot of volume-based action. So the smaller ones is where there is a momentum, there's an action. But I think the larger, either private banks or PSU banks, they are in a consolidation phase. But in terms of price points, I think, it makes sense to kind of accumulate those at these levels.
Okay, I do want your thoughts on some of these, pharma companies as well, because many of them are in focus for several reasons. So I just request you to stay on for a bit. We'll come back to you. Hemang Jani is still with us. Hemang, the thing with MedPlus is it had a very good listing in 2021, but since then the stock has not done much at all. In fact, I think it's still very close to its issue price of around 790 or 800. Why do you think that is? And for a long-term investor, is there still scope for an up move here?
Sonia, what has happened is that since we saw a good amount of come back into the mainframe pharma companies, particularly the ones which are focusing on the US generic business or API, the money which got diverted into the, ancillaries or, this kind of diagnostic companies, that money has flown back into the mainframe pharma companies. And I think that's the reason why we are seeing a bit of a, pause when it comes to diagnostic, or even for that matter, a bit of hospital space. So I think from a thematic perspective, it would make sense to have some presence as the theme or the story continues to look good. But I think given the kind of momentum that we are seeing in names like, let's say, Dr. Reddy or Cipla, or even the smaller API firms, I think, outperformance is difficult, at least in the medium term, for this space.
Outperformance is difficult in this space.
Hemang Jani is still with us, so let's get straight to him. Hemang, the IT space, right? Mid-cap IT has been doing very well. In fact, the IT index is almost at a 52-week high as well. Your thoughts here, what would the pick of the pack be now?
Clearly, because of the kind of revival that we've seen in Nasdaq and technology stocks over there, we've seen a good amount of action in select mid-cap names. I think Coforge is something that we are seeing a good action. Apart from that, I think Emphasis is something where we have seen a fairly good outperformance. So I think some of these names, along with the platform companies like Zomato, where you have seen a big block deal. So the overhang is over, and operationally the company is doing well. So I think some of these names would continue to be in focus, given the strong backdrop that we have from global markets.
All right. Just stay on. We'll come back to you in a bit. In fact, I want your thoughts on many things. There's lots of news flow actually kicking in right now. Escort sales are out and not looking that great. Total sales are down 8.5% at 5,593 units versus 6,111. Remember, for Escorts and for a couple of these other companies that are, linked to the monsoon situation, the monsoons have, there's been a little bit of a deficiency in the monsoon. In fact, a 33% deficiency is what you've seen in the rainfall in the month of August. So there has been this risk that the weak monsoons towards the fag end can perhaps hurt demand. And you're seeing some of that play out in some of these tractor makers like Escorts are not looking that great. Hemang, a quick thought here. Not just, tractors, but even some of the two-wheeler makers that have an exposure to the domestic market. Do you think this weakness in the fag end of the monsoon season is something that could impact sales?
So, Sonia, today monthly sales data will be out, and we think that there is going to be some element of surprise for the MHCV and LCV categories. So, Ashok Leyland will clearly be one of the stocks that we should be focusing upon, along with Maruti, where we expect good traction to come through. Two-wheeler, we think that things are not looking that great. Export side also things are looking quite subdued. So I think two-wheeler is something that one should avoid. In terms of tractor, I think the numbers are not good, but there is some sort of a corporate action which is playing out where, there could be some open offer by Kubota for the remaining stake which is there. So, which is why we are seeing an outperformance that has come through for Escort. So overall, I think one will have to be a little stock specific here.
Okay, thanks a lot for joining in, Hemang. Appreciate your thoughts here.